The wind howled through the desolate western town like a mourning woman, carrying with it the distant creak of wood and the hiss of a tightened rope. On the hastily built gallows in the center of the square, a young mother stood with her hands bound and her face pale beneath the afternoon sun. Her torn dress fluttered in the wind, her eyes fixed not on the sheriff or the angry crowd, but on the small boy clutching the wooden post below, sobbing until his little body shook. The noose hung above her like a vulture circling its prey. The townsfolk gathered not out of justice but out of fear and cruelty, their whispers blending into a cruel chorus. And then, as the sheriff raised his hand to give the signal, a stranger stepped from the shadows, his presence cutting through the noise like the crack of a rifle. Right finger if you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, then don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to The Gentle Truth for more powerful, emotional stories like this. The stranger was not the kind of man anyone in this town recognized. His dark coat was coated in trail dust, his boots heavy with miles of silence, and his eyes carried a weight that made even the loudest men falter. He leaned against a wooden post, watching the spectacle unfold with a stillness that felt more dangerous than any shouted threat. As the sheriff's voice echoed, preparing to end an innocent life, the stranger's hand slid quietly to his side, where the worn handle of his revolver rested like an old friend. The woman on the gallows, named Clara, had not been born into cruelty. She was a widow, raising her young son, Eli, alone on the edge of the plains after her husband died in a mining accident. The land was harsh but she had endured, plowing soil, trading eggs for flour, sewing clothes by lantern light. Her hands bore the scars of work, but her eyes held a softness that never dimmed for her child. That softness, however, was mistaken for weakness by the men who ruled the town. When the bank owner's men came to claim her land over a forged debt, Clara resisted. She refused to leave the only home Eli had ever known. When she fought back, they accused her of attempted murder, twisting her courage into a crime. The trial lasted less than an hour. The verdict was decided before she even entered the room. The gallows were built overnight. In a town where power was louder than truth, justice was a word easily bent. The stranger, Jonas, had ridden into town that morning seeking only water and a place to rest. But when he saw the gallows being prepared, something inside him stirred, a memory of a night years ago, when a noose hung ready for his own brother, a man falsely accused. He had arrived too late then. He would not be too late now. As Clara stood trembling on the platform, the sheriff signaled the hangman. Jonas's voice rang out, low but firm, slicing through the noise. The crowd turned, surprised that anyone dared interrupt the law. He walked forward slowly, his spurs clicking with each step. The sheriff warned him to stand back, but Jonas ignored him, his eyes locked on the rope. His words weren't loud, but their weight silenced the jeering crowd. He accused the sheriff and the banker of injustice, laying bare their corruption with each steady sentence. When they ordered him away, Jonas moved faster than anyone could blink. His revolver cleared its holster and pointed at the hangman's hand. The town froze. Dust swirled. For a moment, time held its breath. Clara's heart pounded in her chest. She didn't know this man, yet something in his stance, unshaken, unwavering, made hope flicker inside her again. Eli stared wide-eyed at the stranger who had appeared like a storm out of nowhere. Jonas demanded a proper hearing, but the sheriff refused, trying to draw his weapon. The shot rang out, splintering the wood beside the sheriff's hand, stopping him cold. Jonas walked up to the platform and, with calculated precision, cut the rope above Clara's head. The crowd gasped. She stumbled forward, falling to her knees, her son racing to her side. What followed was not chaos, but revelation. Jonas produced documents from his saddlebag, papers he had found discarded on the trail near the banker's camp. They proved the banker's men had forged the debt and bribed the sheriff to silence Clara. With the evidence in hand and Jonas's unwavering stance, the townsfolk began to murmur, not against Clara, but against those who had condemned her. Their fear of the banker began to fracture in the face of undeniable truth. The sheriff's authority crumbled. The banker fled. Jonas forced them to face what they had done, not with fiery speeches but with cold, undeniable proof and a gaze that made liars tremble. Clara, still clutching Eli, looked up at Jonas with tears streaming down her face. For the first time in months, she felt the weight on her chest lift. Jonas didn't stay for thanks. By evening, the gallows were dismantled, and the crowd dispersed in silence, haunted by their own complicity. Clara stood on the porch of her small house, holding Eli close as she watched Jonas ride off into the blood-red sunset. She called out a thank you that was carried away by the wind, but Jonas didn't turn around. He didn't need to. Some rescues are done not for glory, but because a heart that has seen injustice cannot remain still. Right finger if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to The Gentle Truth, and before the video ends, comment below what moment moved you the most. Your words inspire us to keep telling stories that matter. In a town that had once been silent in the face of cruelty, one man's courage gave a mother her life back and a boy his future. Sometimes, the greatest battles are fought not with armies, but with a single voice that refuses to let the rope tighten.